Hello everyone! Today I want to do a little test of my Kase Wolverine filters. If you remember, maybe 1 year ago I already did a review of those filters, the Wolverine filters and the Kase K8 kit, and I was very impressed by those filters, and I still am. So the filters are very good. I tested color shifts or anything which changes the color, and they were very good in terms of color cast. Also the material, the coating, everything very good. And yeah, you might ask now, why this video? So just yesterday or 2 days ago, I was asked if those filters somehow impair the sharpness. And something from experience I would say no to. So the sharpness is not changed by those filters by any means. So I used them a lot in the last year and I didn't notice any difference in the sharpness without or with the filters. But I also got the link to a video where a guy called Jamie Gillies, I think, and I linked the video below, compared different brands of filters in terms of sharpness. And he not only compared the cheap ones, but also the very expensive ones. And what he noticed was, and this was very interesting, so if he was shooting with a wide angle lens, there was not much of a difference to be seen. But as soon as he used a zoom lens, zooming in quite far, so I think he used 200 millimeters, which I also have here in my setup, what he noticed was that then by zooming in and only using a smaller part of the filters, he did notice a huge difference in the sharpness. And yeah, this was quite shocking to see, because not only the cheap filters didn't perform good, some of the expensive filters also weren't so good. I'd say really bad actually. And so there wasn't no Kase filter was tested there. So I thought it would be a good idea to do it myself. So if somebody's interested in actually buying Kase filters and also wants to know about the sharpness, we can now have a reference. And as I said, from my experience, there will be no difference in the sharpness. They are very good, but it's always better to check, to double check. And yeah, this is what I'm gonna do now. So I have my 5 DSR here with 50 megapixels, so it will be nice for pixel peeping later. I'm using a cable release, so I not introduce any camera shake. I'm zoomed in at 200 and using f8, which is a very sharp exposure, a very sharp f-stop for my lens here. And then I'm gonna take a reference frame without any filters. Then I'll use one of the Wolverine G&D filters and I drop it in only half. So I'm shooting through the clear part of the filter. And after taking this photo, I'm gonna push it down, shooting through the darkening part of the filter. Then I use a second filter, so putting in 2 G&D filters in front of a lens, and I do the same, basically shooting through the clear part and through the dark part. And then I'll end up with 5 photos, which we're gonna compare in Lightroom and do some pixel peeping. And yeah, I expect to see no difference or not much of a difference, but yeah, gonna be interesting. Let's see how well the Kase filters perform in terms of sharpness. Okay, I'm now back in the office and I've just imported the photos I've taken into Lightroom, and we're now gonna do a little comparison. So down here I have the 5 photos, and the blue one, that's the reference frame, which was shot without using any filters. The green ones are the both with just one filter in front of the lens. I was using the 0.6 hard G&D here. And then we have the use case where I have 2 filters, the 0.6 hard and the 0.6 soft G&D. Let's just start to compare those 2 here, which is the reference frame and the use case with one filter where I have the clear part of the filter in front of the lens. And those are exposed with the same settings, and just gonna zoom in at 2.1. Oh, now let's just start at pixel peeping at 1.1, so 100% view. And yeah, looking at the frame here, at the leaves and everything, I really cannot see much of a difference. And remember, I'm shooting a 50 megapixel camera here, so 100% view on such a camera really means something, in my opinion. So let's just go in at 2.1 or 200%. And again, remember, on the left there's the reference frame, on the right we have with the filters, and think in sharpness, in terms of sharpness, there's no difference at all. If I want to be very critical here, I'd say the one with the filter in front of the lens is a little less contrasty, but just a slight bit, nothing you notice at 100% view. And yeah, remember it's a zoomed in frame here, so I wouldn't say there's a difference, a noticeable difference between the two. So now let's compare it with the one where I put the darkened part in front of the lens. So for this one, since I'm using a two-stop filter, I had to expose a little longer, but there wasn't much wind, so shouldn't be a difference. And again, if we look at the frame, at 100% both look very good. Also here in the leaves. Basically no difference to where I was shooting through the clear part of the filter. Only again, if you go to 200%, you could say that it's a little less contrasty. But sharpness wise, there's no difference to be seen in my opinion. Okay, now it's gonna get a little bit more interesting. We're now looking at the photos with the two filters in front of a lens. So the 0.6 hard GND and the 0.6 soft GND. And I'm first gonna zoom in at 100% again. And yeah, let's just look at the frame. Again, at first glance, they look quite good. But yeah, I begin to notice a little bit of softening on the right side. So this is what I was saying for the use case where I compared the original with the filter, with the one filter shot, where I noticed some slight reduction in contrast. And I think with two filters in front of the lens, I can see a little bit more of that. And yeah, let's just go in at 200%, because then we can better see what's happening. Yeah. So the sharpness, I'd say it's still very good on both sides, but you begin to notice a little bit less detail on the right side. So this reduction of contrast, or yeah, let's say microcontrast, it also affects the perception of the sharpness a bit. So for example, let's just look at those leaves here. So the contrast in those leaves is a little more subdued. I think the fine details are still there, but they're not as pronounced as on the left side here in the original. So with two filters, you begin to notice a little bit of reduction of sharpness, but only if you go in like 200%. So let's go back to 100%, and there it's really hardly noticeable, I'd say. So nothing to worry about in my opinion. And let's also look at the use case where we're shooting through the two filters, through the darkening part, and here it's basically the same, so not really a difference to where I was shooting through the clear part of the filter. At 100%, again, hardly noticeable. Overall, I'd say the Kase filters perform very good in terms of sharpness. Only with two filters I saw a little bit of contrast reduction and softening, but nothing to worry about. And also remember, this is a use case where I'm zoomed in at 200 millimeters, which is really a use case in the field. I can't remember any use case or any time I was using two GND filters in front of such a zoomed in frame. So what you normally do is maybe put in one filter if you need a little bit of darkening in the sky, but I've never used two filters. So basically, if you say as a practical use case, there's nothing where you get any problems in terms of sharpness by using the Kase filters. If I shoot with a wide angle lens, you will not notice any difference, I'd say. And that's what I did in the past. I never noticed any difference, and it was just through this video by Jamie where I got a little interested in actually doing a comparison. So if you're interested in the Kase filters, I don't think you have to worry. And also make sure to check out the video which Jamie did, so you actually know what could happen if you get the wrong filters. So if you, for example, buy very cheap filters, or also some of the more expensive brands, what can happen to the sharpness. And Honestly, I was a bit shocked. I didn't expect to see something like this, and I was more expecting something like I see here. So maybe a slight difference, but nothing really noticeable in a practical use case. So I hope you found this video helpful, and yeah, if so, make sure to leave a thumbs up and also subscribe for more videos. Bye!